There's certainty that people don't want RAF Scampton in Lincolnshire to be used to house migrants. There's a local opposition, there's national opposition, there's theoretical, philosophical opposition to the whole idea. And then there's this mysterious £300 million of investment. Now, on the radio the other day, Keir Starmer was asked about this development and whether or not it was right to house 2,000 asylum seekers. And he had been teased earlier by the Home Office that once Labour got into power, they would get rid of the asylum seekers housed in RAF Scampton, even if they were put there tomorrow. So the radio interviewer asked, when would you get rid of, when would you close down RAF Scampton? And so Keir Starmer said, well, it shouldn't be opened in the first place. This shouldn't be done in the first place. But in fact, he said, our Labour candidate, Hamish Falconer, has just negotiated £300 million of investment. Now, the host of the radio show, a person called Scott Dalton, interrupted and said, no. That 300 million had actually been announced months ago. It was in fact secured by the then Conservative West Lindsey District Council. To which Sir Keir Starmer responded, OK, let's keep going. Let's ignore the fact that there was a mistake, that he'd been inappropriately briefed. And it is quite extraordinary. There's quite a lot of these mistakes going on at the moment. This is one of them. There's so there's one other that BBC has found. There's a whole list of things which the BBC has found. One that under 13 years of Labour, there was not a single strike in the NHS. The Shadow Culture Secretary has said that. Not true. What we have to do is to recognise that in this age where we've got so much information, so much access to information, some of it's incorrect, some of it's fake news, and it's very difficult for people who are not the BBC, who don't have an entire team of people validating things and confirming whether something is true, and even then the BBC get it wrong. But there is too much information for somebody to run around the place making bold statements without checking first. And politicians should be backed up by their advisors, the people who are briefing them. And politicians should read their briefing notes before they start their interviews. What we see time and time again is politicians who don't bother doing their homework, who turn up to a committee meeting which is filmed, and then they're filmed fiddling through their paperwork, fiddling through their files. One of the worst offenders for that is Suella Braverman. I know I shouldn't keep mentioning Suella Braverman. I'm being told that every time I mention that I've got some sort of obsession with Suella Braverman. Well, I have in a way. I don't like to see somebody taking a post which is then handled badly. And Suella Braverman isn't the only person who's handling it badly. Robert Jenrick is another. Matt Hancock is another. Matt Hancock's no longer no longer got his hands on a briefing. He no longer got his hands on a ministerial post. But there are so many others. Michael Gove is another one. Michael Gove also seems to make ridiculous mistakes, but he makes significantly less than other people. Michael Gove, I think, actually does a lot of his homework. And, Rachel Reeves, all right, we could say maybe people in the shadow cabinet don't have the funds to have particularly well-versed advisors to have the best advice, but they have pretty good advice, and they should read it before they do their interviews, really. It's just casual and silly, and I hope this doesn't suggest this is how they're going to be when they're in power.